You're listening to Podcast PXN, PlayStation, Xbox, Nintendo. Let's do this. What's up, guys? Welcome to Podcast PXN episode 17. I am one of your hosts, Daniel Prindle, aka Dan is DTM on Twitter, and I am joined by the pride of PlayStation, Sean Babiak. What is crack-a-lackin'?
I want this podcast to be over now. Why would you ever say what's crack-a-lackin'?
Because that was the first thing that came to my mind.
So what comes to your mind is 80-year-old catchphrases.
Good enough. Thank you to everyone in the live chat for coming out to the show. Just as a reminder, we are live each and every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time on YouTube. All you have to do is search Podcast PXN and you will find us on there. Remember, the show always starts with the PXN News of the Week, so let's go ahead and jump right in. First item we have is Arkane's founder, Raf Colantonio, has founded a new studio, Wolf Eye Games, and their reveal is set for the Game Awards. So, if anyone doesn't know this, Raf was one of the co-founders of Arkane. He was there from the beginning along with Harvey Smith, who was like the lead guy for Dishonored and Dishonored 2. So this will be an interesting one to watch, I think, because they kind of announced this studio as being like a smaller team, but a smaller team that's still building big AAA games. That's supposedly what they're saying. It'll be interesting to see if this has any ties whatsoever to Arkane's past, like Prey and also Dishonored as well, even though Prey was more the Austin Arkane studio and he was more the overseas studio. So this will be super interesting to kind of keep our eye on, I think, see what Wrath is up
I still
to.
need to check out Dishonored 2 at some point.
Yeah, I agree. I need to go back after they fix the input lag. It's definitely a great game that a lot of people love, but...
Yeah, I enjoyed the first one a lot. I just never got around to the second one.
Yeah,
that was that fall was ridiculous because that was Shadow of Mordor, a lot of other titles that I remember getting into, and that just fell on the back burner.
Yep, absolutely. So next item we have Dualshock 5 patents have been revealed or leaked rather that kind of show a similar design to the Dualshock 4. So this is kind of interesting because they dropped the best feature on the DualShock 4, the light bar.
You think that was the best feature?
I'm joking.
I was going to say, I thought the best feature is honestly the microphone.
No.
And actually, now the touchpad became essentially your map button, but it has been super useful in other games, such as, like, I remember having it for Assassin's Creed Odyssey, or not Odyssey, launch title, Black Flag. And it being a very nice thing to have. Instead of having to constantly pause your game. And you know how there's always that little hiccup when you pause a game. And it just instantly went to your map, instantly came out. So that was nice. I just don't think the touchpad was ever fully realized in the sense that it was.
I feel like the PlayStation and Xbox created new buttons for no reason, and both of them were pretty much the same buttons that they were on previous gen. Like the view button, as Microsoft calls it on Xbox One, is really just the back button from Xbox 360, and the touchpad is basically the select button from
the only thing they
PS3.
have is that share button. I'm not a streamer though, so I don't do any of that stuff.
Right.
I think really the coolest part about this is, maybe I shouldn't say cool, but I feel like we have a pretty good indication of next gen controllers more so than we did. I think this started honestly with Xbox with their Elite Series 2, with them announcing that controller would be good for Scarlet, and then after that announcement, announcing the rest of their hardware from Xbox One would be good on Scarlet.
Well, actually, it was before that.
Was it? I thought it was after.
Yeah, they announced that at E3, actually, when they revealed Scarlet for the first time. They said that all of your hardware would work moving forward.
So, and then we obviously assumed it was going to be a very similar patent. Obviously, Xbox hasn't leaked or anything like that. But now Sony's biggest thing that they really did was just take away the light bar from that patent. It could be not the same result in the end. Again, this is a leak. Nothing's been confirmed.
Yeah.
But if that's the case, all they're doing is just taking away a feature that, in my mind, is what drains your battery in your PS4 controllers.
Yeah. Which the newer versions of the DualShock 4, to be fair, are very good.
True, yes.
Battery-wise.
Yes.
The original ones were awful.
Yeah. Like, I would get, 3 hours on a good charge.
Yeah.
And that was it. But I mean, I think we're going into next gen in a very safe way. We're not like getting almost like a Switch, Wii U, Wii type situation where it's like, how am I going to hold this gaming platform or this controller itself?
Yep.
And they both offer differences because some people, like myself, like the dual sticks on the bottom. You like the offset dual sticks.
Yeah.
So it's however you like it. I don't necessarily think a controller sells a console. I think a controller, though, can turn you off of a console.
Yes, I agree.
Biggest example would be the ugliness, in my opinion, of Google Stadia. If I have to play with that, and I understand reviews are coming out, and it's getting a decent amount of hate this week, specifically with how they're handling their pre-orders and stuff like that. But that controller just turns me off.
I have one better for you. The Ouya controller.
Doesn't that remind you of the Ouya
It does,
controller?
yes.
Like, it looks dead on it.
It really does.
And, like, that controller looked ugly, not ergonomic. It, like, brought me back to, like, NES days. And I'm sorry, I love my NES.
Yeah.
I actually brought it here, but that's a terrible controller. Yeah. And I get it, back in those days it was fine. But, I mean, we've come so far and ahead. I mean, I was playing on the Xbox One controller today, and the bumpers are not just like you can feel the momentum, but they actually have a curvature for your index fingers to where you almost have a rest on it.
Yep.
So we've come so far in controllers. I just think that was, we could do an entire episode on Stadia right now.
Yep, definitely. Agreed. So, kind of similar onto this next story, Amy Hennig, and I say similar because she used to work for PlayStation. Amy Hennig forms a new interactive division at Skydance Media. So Skydance Media is a bigger motion picture company that has been responsible for more recent films like Terminator and stuff like that. And she is coming in and forming, we assume, her brand new game studio. It just says that she's creating a interactive division with them, but you think of interactive, you think of games, you think of also kind of those interactive movies that came out on Netflix, like we were discussing before the podcast went live, and that could be something that's tied in, maybe something kind of bridging the gap. Think Telltale games, except for in movie form. Like maybe they do something like that where you have a certain amount of time.
Like Bandersnatch?
Yeah, exactly.
From Netflix that they offered last Christmas.
Yep. So
it's possible. The one thing I will say with this news is they obviously didn't confirm or deny anything about this being a games-focused media.
Yeah.
But when it comes to Amy Hennig, whatever she's going to put out, I am very interested in.
Yeah, obviously, Amy Hennig, Uncharted, she wrote Uncharted 1, 2, and she did 3 as well, but she started working on 4, and then she departed, and Neil Druckmann and Bruce Straley took over.
And then she did a lot of other things before then, too. I couldn't name them off the top of my head without researching it. But, I mean, everybody was so stoked for that Visceral Star Wars game that she was heading up.
Yep.
And obviously we know that fell apart, which
you want? Sorry,
go ahead. No, you're fine.
I kind of wonder, like, what state that was in, because with seeing Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order come out and do so well, and being, like, very similar in that type of experience where it's like a third person over the shoulder action game, and that seems like what Visceral was trying to make. You have to wonder if EA saw that and was like, hey, this Visceral game doesn't look like it's anywhere near on par with this Respawn project. So I kind of wonder if that kind of...
It's possible they might have thought in their brains that maybe flooding the Star Wars with single-player games wasn't going to be the answer, because let's be real, EA is more concentrated on their platforms than it is their single-player experiences. Mm-hmm. Like, obviously, they've had a bunch of stinkers recently, specifically Anthem, and they saw Andromeda did not do too well. And I get it; they're always voted the worst company in the world, which I totally disagree that they're the worst company in the world. It's just gamers have a loud internet voice.
Absolutely.
But I'm hopeful that whatever she is doing with this new division at Skydance is something that she gets to make essentially her passion project for whatever she's going to be creative. Oh, Legacy of Kain series.
I'm
sorry. I was like, I know her for somewhere else. Yeah, Legacy of Kain series. And I love like Soul Reaper. That was such a good like change of that series too. So she is like fully equipped to write any stories. I don't know how well she is with like game management and stuff like that, like as a director would be.
Yep.
But I'll tell you, whatever story she's gonna write, you're gonna want to pay attention to.
Agreed, completely. Our next news story is Diablo 4 has some leaks, or rumors rather, that the beta and release date for Diablo 4 is coming. So the beta, they're saying, is coming sometime next year, whatever that means. So sometime in 2020, which you kind of feel like it's going to be earlier rather than later because of the next-gen consoles coming next fall. I doubt they're going to want to do a beta right at the launch of next-gen consoles, so I would say maybe like summer next year, look for a beta.
Unless maybe they have like some sort of beta on consoles themselves.
It's possible. Yeah, it's possible. But this rumor is extremely vague. And also release date for the game in 2021, which isn't a surprise to me just based on what Blizzard has been saying about the game.
Perfectly fine. I don't need a game that I am just jacked for to come out next year. And I know that's a weird statement to make. I mean, I know you and I will no longer be friends as soon as Scarlet launches because I won't be able to talk to you or see you.
Halo.
Yeah. And obviously, I don't have like a PS5 game, but I know I'm going to be enamored by that console. And then if what our prediction is going to be actually happens in Breath of the Wild, then my life is over.
Yep.
I don't know what to do. Cry? That's all I can think of to do.
Breath of the Wild's going to be...
That's where your like life crisis will come into effect.
I hope to God that Breath of the Wild comes out before like September of next year. Because if it's not, I'm screwed.
You can hope. My only thought is that you figure out a way to take lunches at work so you can't play Xbox there.
Yeah.
Hey, just do it then.
Hey, boss, can I just go ahead and go to the back and play my Switch for a few hours? Yeah, that'd be great.
Why can't you play it at home? Well, I have Halo at home. What am I supposed to do?
Halo Infinite, yeah. So, yeah, that'll be interesting to keep our eye on there. So, next we have Half-Life Alyx has been announced for Steam VR. So, a new Half-Life game has finally been revealed after all these years.
Half-Life 3?
And it's not Half-Life 3. It's a VR game. They did confirm, however, it is coming for Oculus as well as Vive. So it isn't a Vive exclusive, which is good. To try to get it in the hands of as many PC gamers as possible. I know you talked about it not appearing on PlayStation, which... It, to me, isn't a huge shock because lately Valve has been very anti-console. They haven't done anything on consoles since Portal 2, I think. That was the last game that they released, I believe.
You might be right on that. I mean, that obviously is a stellar game regardless. But
right,
yes.
But they just haven't been friendly with console.
PlayStation has the biggest install base when it comes to VR.
Does it with them combined though?
I don't know if it's combined, but I would actually hedge a bet on it, only because of the entry price for PSVR is so much lower. Even if you have a high-end PC already or a decent PC to run those, you still are looking at $400 to $500. Now Oculus is, I believe, cheaper. They announced the Lift.
Yeah.
Isn't that what it's called? Oculus Lift?
Yeah, something like
where
that.
It's like the wireless model that you don't even have to have a PC for or anything like that. You just download the games right on the system itself. But I was kind of hoping it would come to PSVR. Actually, even Black Friday bundles are out, and it's like ungodly.
Oculus Quest.
Quest, okay. It's ungodly cheap on Black Friday, by the way.
Yeah.
It's like, I think... You get 5 amazing games in the system with all the accoutrements for only $200.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. That is a good deal. I think that's interesting. I've never been a fan of Half-Life myself, but
I love 2.
Yeah.
I thought 1 was pretty good. It just wasn't what I was looking for when I played it initially.
Yeah.
2 was, I remember reading all this hype about it and like, okay, like, what is it? Then I remember G4 TV, back when that was around, watching a video of it and, like, watching, like, something move when you, like, interacted with it, like, by accident. Like, I think somebody, like, stumbled into, like, a thing of wood. and all the wood toppled over. I'm like, oh my god! Like at that time, nothing like that had been happening.
Right.
So it was just amazing. The story was amazing. The guns were awesome.
Gravity gun.
Yeah. Just a lot of that story. Even the episodes afterwards were great, and it obviously gave us such amazing games like Team Fortress, Portals, all that stuff. So we're never gonna get a Half-Life 3. If anybody ever thinks that we're never are. Valve does not do 3s. Apparently, it's just not in their system.
We've talked about this before. Give us Orange Box 2 with all the 3s in it.
Maybe if you just ask for Orange Box 2, they'll be like, well, let's just put like Left 4 Dead's, the Portal 2. Because I would love some sort of collection with just the Portal games on console.
Yeah, that's true.
Because I love both of those.
Yep. Agreed completely. And the co-op is a lot of fun on Portal 2
and Portal 2, 100%.
Yeah.
That was actually the most fun I ever had on a puzzle game co-op.
Yeah, for sure. So our last news story we have before we get to the games we're playing, this isn't the last news story. I completely skipped over the one we added. I forgot I put it in the notes. This is our second to last news story. Borderlands 3 has new DLC called Moxie's Heist of the Handsome Jackpot. So I'll let you take this.
It's coming out on December 19th. So obviously if you already have the season pass, you'll get it. I don't know if they've announced a price for individual things, but my guess is expect like between $9.99 and $14.99 probably for like the standalones. You're going to get a new galaxy destinations that have like casino zones because it's all based on a planetary system where Handsome Jack had casinos and like an entire Vegas lot type thing. But you're going to basically be doing a space heist in the entire planetary thing. So I really like that kind of like weird mission structure that you're going to be kind of setting up for doing something at the very end of that. No new characters, so that is a little bit of a bummer. And actually, I kind of mean more of a bit of bummer. I was really hoping that they would go ahead and start adding new characters.
Yeah.
Just because I just have such fond memories of Krieg from Borderlands 2. But obviously you're going to get the same like weapon trinkets, items, customizations, probably new weapons, which, you'll never see everything anyways, no matter what. Another thing that's actually really cool is that between November 21st and November 24th, Gearbox is having Borderlands 3 free to play for a limited time on both PlayStation 4 and Xbox One.
Oh.
So I thought that was a really cool thing for them to do, especially for people that haven't converted or tried it out yet, just to see if this is something down their alley, if it's something that they would like to give a try.
Yeah.
You and I both enjoyed it. Story was a little weaker than Borderlands 2, but still a very fun party game.
Awesome. Yeah, people are projecting online. They haven't officially said this, which is weird, but people are projecting that the DLCs will be $15 a piece standalone because there's supposed to be 4 pieces of content. So that would total up to be $60, whereas the season pass is $50, which it is included in the season pass, obviously. Yeah. So...
yeah, and I remember I got the season pass when it was only like, I think, $25 or something like that because I pre-ordered the game.
25?
That's all it would have cost. When I broke it down, that's all it would have cost.
Oh, in your collector's edition or whatever? Gotcha. Yeah, that honestly would have been the best way to...
Because I knew I was going to... I generally don't play at that much DLC, but like games that I really love.
For Borderlands.
Yeah. Like if like I pre-ordered, obviously, Zelda's DLC when that came out. I would assume if Halo ever did some sort of DLC thing, you
free
would
DLC for Halo 5,
which I get, but if they had like a DLC single player type thing, I would
buy whatever they gave me.
Yeah.
If they wanted me to buy Halo themed water, I would buy it. I don't care. Give it to me. 343
poisons you.
Yes, exactly. Poisons my mind to love Halo even more than I already do. So our last news story is there is another Saints Row game set to be revealed in 2020, according to reports. So this is very exciting for me personally. So I have been a Saints Row fan all the way back to the original back in the day, and it was very much a GTA clone back then, done very poorly. The first game was. But I still enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun. I got my enjoyment out of it. Saints Row 2 kind of took that formula that the original created and made it better. Saints Row 3, in my opinion, the best Saints Row game, and I just loved how outlandish that game was. I loved how silly it was, but yet still grounded in reality. And Saints Row 4 basically is Crackdown.
Oh, it is. Yeah.
That's why, for me personally, I didn't really enjoy Saints Row 4 as much because it didn't feel like a Saints Row game. It felt like Crackdown. So I really hope with this new game announcement that we get that Volition really goes back to the roots of Saints Row, maybe creates it as a reboot, perhaps. But I really want it to really resemble Saints Row 3 more so than Saints Row 4. So...
I would play, and I'm actually the opposite.
Yeah.
I played 3 and 4. I never played the first two. But I only play them as PlayStation Plus games. But I had fun. I couldn't tell you anything with the story or any of that stuff. But I had more fun.
You're the president.
With the superhero aspect of it in that computer simulation or whatever than I did actually at it. And I think it's mostly because I come from a long background of GTA games, and specifically like all the Rockstar stuff dating back to the PC. Like Grand Theft Auto 1, all that stuff.
Yeah.
And I appreciate how they do it. I didn't think the Volition did it as well with the mechanics.
See, I don't know. I disagree. It's very different. Like GTA and Saints Row are very different in terms of gameplay. They present themselves very similarly, but as far as like gameplay, they're very different experiences in my opinion. Like GTA, you're playing something that you want to have a visceral story that has very good twists and turns that you don't expect. Whereas Saints Row, you're just getting craziness after craziness after craziness. And you also have that tension of like gangs against each other. You don't really have that in GTA as much. So I just feel like it's a very different experience personally. But the reason why Saints Row 3 for me was so good was because I played Saints Row 1 and 2, and just seeing like those two up against Saints Row 3 was such a big difference. Like it was such a big improvement over those two games. That might be part of the reason why I see it in a brighter light than you do, because if you didn't play the first two, you wouldn't see like, man, this was pretty rough back then.
Well, and I say all this too, knowing the fallacies in Grand Theft Auto and Red Dead these days by their control scheme. It is incredibly outdated to the point where it very much turned me off of Red Dead Redemption 2 recently.
Yeah.
To like, if they are able to do something in that similar kind of world atmosphere while also having an updated control scheme.
Yes.
Like it almost, to me, Rockstar right now feels like I'm playing on tank controls when off of like the original remastered Resident Evil when Resident Evil 2 just came out.
Yep.
If that makes sense. I know it's a weird comparison, but that's how I'm kind of feeling.
I totally agree with you. Red Dead Redemption 2 is super slow, and for me, playing Red Dead Redemption 2 at first, it felt very slow, and it felt jarringly slow. Like you start out and you're just, you feel like you can't even move. You're in molasses.
Yeah, that truly.
Yeah. And but I obviously looked past that and like just enjoyed the game, but it very much is outdated controls, and Rockstar really needs to evaluate that for GTA 6. Otherwise, I think they're going to get themselves into trouble with finding themselves behind in the times with as far as gameplay goes.
Yep.
So next, we'll go into the games we are playing. Luigi's Mansion 3, I finally beat late last week. Actually, it might have been Saturday. I don't remember. Friday night. Friday night, I think I finished it. Really good game. I really enjoyed it. The ending is much harder than what I thought it was going to be. The first, 10 floors or however many floors was so easy. And then you get to that one point where it's just like, holy crap, what the heck is going on? And I don't even know how difficult this is needing to be, but it got to the point where I was dying 3 or 4 times in one boss fight, and I'm like, Jesus Christ, I just want to move
Daniel
on.
made a comment how, because I was watching him because I was playing one of my games that I'll talk about.
Yeah.
But he made a comment how he wasn't dying until I got in the room. I was like, you weren't dying until you got on the 10th floor.
Yeah, exactly. To B2 or whatever, and then... Yeah.
Did B2 kill you?
No, I don't think it did,
B2
actually.
didn't kill you.
Yeah.
But
after
kill
that.
me.
But after that,
but
it
yeah, I was
did,
gonna after that. Then
Yeah.
B2 is the only place I died.
That was awful. So finished that up, and then I started Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. So I just want to talk a little bit about that since I only got a few hours of that in. I really enjoy what I've played so far. The story seems really solid. The characters all seem good. I wouldn't say that the characters are amazing in my opinion.
I heard the adult characters seem to flesh out the story more than the actual lead character.
Yeah. They definitely kind of build more than he does. He's very mundane. He doesn't really do much, I guess, is my only complaint so far. But as far as the gameplay goes, it's perfect. I love the gameplay. There's twists at every turn. The puzzles are challenging but rewarding.
We had a bonding experience with our puzzles.
Yeah, that was an experience.
There's this really cool ball puzzle basically where you had to figure out like how to get certain things into the system. I guess you could just say like the holes to unlock doors. It was more or less a win puzzle. Think like Legend of Zelda, Skyward Sword type thing. But the way you had to do it was all based on force power. So Daniel and I were both like looking at while he was playing, like just seeing, okay, where's another ball? Where can we find this? And oh wait, hold on, there's that opening. So I really like that cleverness that I was seeing on those puzzles.
Yeah, I agree completely. It has that perfect mix between like Tomb Raider with the puzzle solving and the very linear open world areas. It's very similar in that regard. As well as combining Star Wars license, obviously, and kind of Metroidvania type feels as well. So
with what other franchise?
With
a little bit of Souls.
Little bit of Dark Souls, but not too much because I hate Dark Souls.
Yeah, I was going to say, not enough that it would turn you off.
Exactly.
But something that really looked like it was going to turn me on for it.
And also, I'm playing on the second easiest difficulty, so the fact that there's a difficulty slider, that makes all the world. Because I've heard that Jedi Master is actually the way that a lot of people are playing, because that's very much like similar to a Dark Souls experience because it's a lot harder. But then there's a difficulty above that even. So like if you want to just lose yourself,
punish yourself
at night,
that's what those games are, man.
Just, cry yourself to sleep.
I really like the mashing of genres in a Star Wars game too, with the Metroid-like of it. I really like that whole. I know it's hard for some gamers to enjoy, but like being done with an area, but only being done with that area to a certain point.
Yeah,
and having other things to go back on. It gives you just more end game material, more or less.
And I will say, I hate when a game wastes my time and I have to backtrack just for the sake of backtracking. Like, Luigi's Mansion pissed me off when I had to backtrack to find the dang cat.
Oh, Poultry Kitty.
Multiple times. That pissed me off. I hate when games do that. But when games do, like, Metroidvania like this, and, like, for instance, for Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, you get to areas that unlocks other areas, so it basically unlocks shortcuts back to the original part of the map that you started at. So when you come back to the world to do the areas that you weren't able to access before, you actually have shortcuts to that area, so it's a lot quicker and easier to get there because you have unlocked those
which is a
doors
very
that are close.
Metroid and Dark Souls-y thing to do for you.
Yes.
Give you quicker access to avoid the enemies. That way you can progress a little further along.
Exactly, and you don't waste your time.
Exactly,
I hate when games do that. So, really enjoying Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. Definitely highly recommend.
Yes,
that.
I'm definitely looking forward to getting that at some point.
Yep.
So I've actually been utilizing you to play games this week. I have been fiddling around on Xbox Game Pass on the PC inside the Xbox beta.
Thanks to my account, and I get the achievements.
He does get the achievements because I care less about achievements.
Yeah.
So the first game I'll talk about is Age of Empires 2. So I have extremely fond memories of this game. This is the remastered edition. that actually just came out, didn't it? Like a few days ago.
Yeah, it launched on the day that X019 was.
So I got to check it out. It still feels and plays exactly the way I remember as a kid, which is both a good thing and a detriment, because I can understand how people want all those RTSs. They'd prefer that it like kind of went with time. Like I actually really once I'm kind of done with my other game is I want to check out Halo Wars 2 because I never did.
Really good.
But like seeing the advancements, but I really love like having that nostalgia for Age of Empires 2 and just playing as the different civilizations going up. And I always have this little thing where what I always do is I wall myself off and I become like the master trader. I trade with everybody. Get all the supplies I need, but the entire time I'm doing that, I'm just building a massive army. So eventually when my army's to the size I want it to, I just send it out to every single person and I just dominate with that.
So a question, are you going to get Age of Empires 4 when it comes out?
It's possible. If it's an Xbox Game Pass thing, if I'm being real with you, I'll probably just play it on your PC.
Which it will. It'll be first party.
Exactly, so, yeah. So I could definitely see myself doing that. I have a very hard time connecting RTSs with the controller, personally. I really think those are kind of set up specifically for mouse and keyboard, which I get it. Actually, the original Halo Wars on Xbox 360 did a great job with the controller for it. But that was specifically made for that at that time because it wasn't on PC.
But Halo Wars 2 is.
It is, and I haven't checked it out yet, as I just said. But I haven't decided yet. But no matter what, I'm going to play it.
Yeah.
Because obviously you said it comes out. But I just don't know if it's going to be something I'll stick around as much as I have with Age of Empires 2. Yeah. The other game that I checked out, another X019, Rage 2.
Yes.
So obviously this came out earlier this year. Two muddled reviews. I say like pretty good reviews. Yeah. Nothing though that like set the world on fire.
Yeah, average.
Yeah, and I don't think anybody was ever expecting this game to set anything on fire either, in my personal opinion. But I'm actually having a lot of fun with it. It is. I'm not 100% sure. I didn't do research on it, but if it's from the makers of Mad Max that came out in 2015. I believe that was Avalanche Studios.
Yep.
But it definitely gives me that vibe filled with Borderlands. As far as it obviously being an FPS in that sense, but you kind of going into this desert wasteland and as the Mad Max part is, you're clearing out outposts and discovering new locations and getting all that stuff for it.
And actually, now that you're saying that, it was the Mad Max team that made this too, because the Just Cause team had just made Just Cause 4.
Yeah, so it definitely gives you that feel, and as I'll talk about later, is I love Mad Max. But I am enjoying my time. I'm probably about like maybe 6-ish hours in, and I've done like 2 story missions, which that's kind of how open world games a lot of times go for me, is I like to go explore, get all the power-ups and the collectibles and all that stuff. And the collectibles or the power-ups are really cool in this game. Like you have a double jump feature that you can freeze yourself in the air and then shoot down on your enemies. That's really cool. You have this almost... You pull yourself to people, and then you push them away, and most of the time, it just slams them. But it's really useful against enemies that have armor, because when you do that, you push them, and it strips their armor. So even if they might not die, they're no longer armored, and it makes it a lot easier. The guns feel awesome. The vehicles feels pretty controllable. Basically, the main thing I want to say is I'm actually very impressed, for the most part, of how seamless the Xbox app works on PC with Xbox Game Pass. Now, obviously, I had some issues today because it kicked me out.
Yeah.
But there could be a lot more problems than there are.
Yeah.
And so I really like that accessibility that, especially just how our setup is that if you wanted to play Jedi Fallen Order on the TV, perfectly fine to, hey, I'm going to check out Rage 2. Okay, man, yeah, just log into the PC and you're good to go.
Yep.
So I really like that. And again, another thing, PlayStation, I think if you want to stay competitive in the next year's or next cycle's field, is you have to look at what services you offer. I mean, IGN has this whole thing going on the last week and a half about streaming services and what they offer and all that stuff. That is going to be now the biggest push of everything, is streaming services or just services in general from your console.
Yep, agreed completely. So, is that all you have for Rage 2?
Yeah,
right.
I'm gonna hopefully keep playing it. I've been enjoying my time so far. I couldn't tell you anything what's happening in the story though.
All right, so we'll move on to the topic of the show, which is X019 news wrap up. So we obviously recorded last Wednesday. X019 was on Thursday, so there's a ton of news that came out of X019. We aren't going to cover all of it because there's just too much to cover. We'll cover kind of the big points that we kind of thought were the most important. So the first one is Obsidian, who just released Outer Worlds, has announced a brand new game, new IP called Grounded. So essentially, this game looks like Honey We Shrunk the Kids, except
I Shrunk the Kids.
Whatever, Honey I Shrunk the Kids, except game form. So you play as like these little people, and I don't mean. I say little people, I mean like shrunken people. I don't mean like...
No one was taking it as that.
I'm just clarifying that.
PC 2019.
Hey, you can never be too PC. Just ask PC Principal. Anyways, yeah.
Good point.
You play as little miniature people that are shrunk down, and you're fighting like little ants and insects and all that. It looked really cool, like a 4-player co-op survival experience. It looks very interesting. I just want to see more on the game. And it was actually made by a very, very small team at Obsidian. It was like 13 people that actually are making this game. Obsidian in total is like maybe 150 people in total. The rest of those people obviously were working on Outer Worlds. But this game definitely piqued my interest a little bit. So I don't know what your thoughts are. But
it looked decent. The second I saw the trailer, unfortunately, you know what I said? I was like, why does it have to be in first person?
Yeah.
That's my only thing. I thought that looked like now we only saw one part of it where it's first person.
Right.
But just like my issues with Sea of Thieves, like those games to me seem perfect to be a third person. But again, I know I'm very partial to that experience as a character
right.
In a game. I thought that would be such a better way to do that.
Yeah. Totally. So the next one is Project xCloud has some news. So the interesting thing about Project xCloud that they announced was any games that you currently own on Xbox One or any games that you have in Game Pass. So if you have Game Pass or any games you own, you will be able to stream those games on xCloud for no additional charge. So this is huge to me because this is basically saying any game you want to play, you can play on xCloud when they finally release the full version of xCloud sometime after 2020. But I feel like this is going to lay the groundwork for the future of Xbox because Xbox is kind of more of a brand now than just a box per se. You have Xbox on PC, you have Xbox on Scarlet and Xbox One X and all of that, but Xbox will continue to evolve as a service, and I think xCloud is going to be what that is. Also, they did announce that xCloud is coming to Windows 10 PCs and some new markets as well. So that's another interesting wrinkle. You play Xbox exclusives on your PC. Obviously, all of Microsoft's first-party games are on both, but for instance, if you don't have a very powerful PC, you can pull up xCloud and stream a game to your PC that's not very powerful and just play it that way. Because all you're doing when you're streaming a game is you're just pulling in the data from the internet.
See, I like that option as opposed to Stadia.
Yeah.
Because Stadia doesn't give you an option.
Yes.
Microsoft, in this sense,
gives
is.
You. Yes.
And I think that is the way to go into this future of consoles themselves.
Yep.
Like, I think the way that Google is doing it is completely wrong only because they're basing it on the fact that in the cities, they have amazing internet.
Yep.
Out in the boonies here, they do not. And actually, in all of Middle America, it is statistically like worse than a lot of other countries.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's the thing that I think Xbox learned specifically from the Xbox One launch when they said always online. Obviously, there was a huge uproar of it because a lot of people couldn't do that. And I think they've now learned how to skirt that issue. Here's your xCloud for the gamers that need it, but if you don't, there's the game too.
Yep.
Like, I really like that mentality.
Yep. It's your choice.
Yeah.
That's the best part.
We just saying, like, I know we got a lot of other things to talk about with this, but the PR turnaround in Xbox since Phil Spencer took over has to be like in eventually some sort of textbook for like entrepreneurs and marketing is how to turn around the not financially because they're doing okay, but the perception of your company. Yeah, like just the way that he was able to turn the conversation. Now I get it; they didn't do the sales to capture PlayStation 4, but the perception in gamers' eyes for I believe the most part is an extremely positive one because they're looking after gamers.
Yeah. And the great thing about Phil is he had a plan from the get-go. He knew it wasn't going to be a quick fix. He had a plan that looked to the long game. He wasn't looking for the short game, what's going to happen with PS4. He was worried about 10 years from now. And you really see that with Xbox One X and S, because that was his first project he did, building all the first-party studios that he built. And now we're starting to see the first-party studios that he acquired produce these games that are finally coming out. Obviously, we haven't seen a lot of them yet, but next year I would assume we're going to see quite a bit with Scarlet launching next fall.
I would assume like we're going to go into both from PlayStation and Xbox's first-party overload because they're going to definitely try to sell us on getting these systems, and we've already talked about the struggle it's going to be because they're already backwards compatible. Yep. What are you going to show me that makes me want to get this system?
Agreed.
And obviously, we're getting the systems. But you're casual gamers.
Yeah, exactly. So next we have Rare has announced a brand new IP as well to join Obsidian's new IP, and it's called Everwild. So this game looks interesting to me because it looks very different than what they're doing with Sea of Thieves. Sea of Thieves is obviously an online connected shared world experience based on pirates and all that. This looks like a very much artsy type of game. It looks like beautiful. It looks like kind of a Ori art style, sort of.
That was the vibe you said it gave you. Yeah, I remember.
Yeah. It's just a very vibrant world. So obviously this is just a teaser trailer. We didn't get much from it in terms of gameplay. We got
no gameplay as far as we know.
Right. Yeah. We just got basically like what this world looks like, what are they going for as far as like artistic?
The art direction did look really cool. Yeah. I mean, at first it almost looks like what Pokemon should look like,
right?
As far as how the animals were all viewed and stuff like that. I'll trust Rare. The Sea of Thieves did not turn me on as far as to basically want to try it out. Mostly because I was hoping that wouldn't be like an online world, but obviously it was. Yeah. But everyone knows the pedigree that Rare came from. Yeah. Downfall is most of those people aren't there anymore. Mm-hmm. But I am interested to see what becomes of this because I think for the most part this is now Microsoft's Studio Japan. Studio Japan takes a lot of risk for Sony when it comes to artistic games. Eco Shadow, Last Guardian. Yeah. They might not be your traditional games. Might not be what you want, but they're taking something that they think is a neat idea and they're going to expound on it. And I think that's what Rare is about to become for them.
And Microsoft has talked about, Phil Spencer has talked about wanting to give the studios the ability to make what they want to make. So that's the great thing as well. They wanted to make this, so they said, go for it. Just like Obsidian wanted to make Grounded. They had already started development before they were acquired by Microsoft on Grounded, but obviously Phil Spencer and company continued to support that after they purchased them. So it's really good to see them allow their studios to kind of control their future and do what they want to do.
Yeah, and I think that's like a page that he's taken from essentially like Shuhei's book, where Shuhei always was on record saying like, cool, Last of Us is delayed, or Uncharted's delayed. Let them have the time. That's the game they want to make. That's the game I will play. Yep. And Miyamoto gets how much time to do any game he wants to. Yep. Even if it's bad, like Star Fox.
Oh, God. Star Fox. So speaking of Sea of Thieves, there was a new expansion for Sea of Thieves, the monthly update called Seabound Soul and Fire, and it is actually out today. So that's kind of exciting. So this expansion is kind of interesting because it kind of provides more of the questline stuff. So they added some questline stuff in one of the previous updates, but this kind of adds another questline focus as well. It's a new story that they're joining this new character called Captain Pendragon, and I guess they're just trying to give people the option to play more story-based stuff. That was one of the complaints with Sea of Thieves at launch, was there wasn't a lot of story-based stuff in order to play on there, as well as not a lot of content in general. And I really feel like Rare has done a great job at building all the content as well as story pieces as well. So Sea of Thieves at launch maybe was a incomplete game, you'd call it. But that seems to be the
Have any outlets re-reviewed it yet?
No.
Because I know a lot of outlets do re-reviews, like Rainbow Six Siege,
yes,
Destiny, and all that.
Which to me is a shame, because I feel like Rare has poured in so much work into Sea of Thieves and made it as good as it can be. Like, they've had updates every month for the past year plus. Like, that's incredible. Like, that doesn't normally happen with studios. So I feel like they should at least get a look, and people should at least try it again. Obviously, they're on Game Pass, so you can play for free if you.
I might actually, now that I'm kind of in like your Game Pass thing, might check it out too. Yeah. Like I said, the next time I list is Halo Wars 2.
Yeah.
But it feels so weird catching up on like backlog stuff that I've actually wanted to play.
Yes.
It's so weird to have that feeling to like, there's nothing really out right now that I can buy, so let's just catch up on old stuff.
I was going to say we could play co-op, but you don't have Xbox Live.
I don't. I just have an account.
Yeah. Okay. Gotcha. All right. So that kind of covers that. So
here, end on your good one.
Do I?
And end on your other one.
Okay. Yeah. Gotcha. So the next one we have is Final Fantasy Classics. So a ton of Final Fantasy games from the past, like Final Fantasy 7, 8 Remastered, 9, 10 HD, 11.
10 and 10 2 HD are good.
Yep.
Zodiac Age is good.
12 Zodiac Age, 13, 13-2.
13's awful.
15. So all of those Final Fantasy games coming to Game Pass. That's incredible on console and PC. That's absolutely insane.
So skip 9 and skip all the 13s. Yeah. They're bad.
Which I'm not a Final Fantasy person. I probably won't touch them, but that's really cool for the fans out there. There's also,
I haven't played 8 Remastered, so I would like to check that out.
8 Remastered?
Yeah, I haven't played, it was Remastered. Yeah, I haven't played that yet.
There's also, so these two are big ones because they're previously PlayStation exclusives. You have Kingdom Hearts 1.5, I believe, and 2.5, which are the collections for 1 and 2. Both of those are coming to Xbox Game Pass as well next year. And then you have Yakuza 0, Kiwami, and Kiwami 2. So that's pretty big news as well, because those are previously big Japan exclusives because they're very
Kiwami and Kiwami 2 are just the remasters of the first 2 Yakuzas, and Yakuza 0 is a prequel that was released earlier this generation.
Yeah.
The Kingdom Hearts thing is cool.
Yeah.
I really think it's too little too late for Xbox gamers. I could be wrong. But I feel like whoever wanted to play Kingdom Hearts already did on the PlayStation 4.
Yeah.
But I do think it is about damn time that they came onto the consoles.
Yeah.
Only because they were never, ever supposed to be exclusives, specifically in this generation.
Right.
Because of how old they are. I'm surprised they're not getting the 2.8, the story so far, and then just doing 1.5 and 2.5.
Right.
Please don't get confused by the numbers. I'm always confused by the numbers whenever I read a title for Kingdom Hearts.
Yeah.
But I'm glad they're finally coming to other platforms.
The thing, I think that Square should have done this. They should have just given everyone the originals with Kingdom Hearts 3 on both PlayStation and Xbox, and they should have just launched them day and date. I don't understand why. Why would someone on Xbox, if you're an Xbox exclusive gamer, why would you want to play Kingdom Hearts 3 without playing the first 2 games?
The only thing, well, it's honestly not even the first 2 games. It's the first, 9 games.
Oh, well, whatever. The collections.
Yeah, because it's just like, if you say you wanted to get invested in that universe too, as an Xbox gamer, maybe you did, as far as it's your first Kingdom Hearts game, it's Kingdom Hearts 3, and this is not to be insulting towards the series, but I feel like you have at least had to play 1 and 2 to understand somewhat what was going on.
Right.
And you actually really, I think, needed to play the DS things to understand the underbelly of the other things. And it's just a little ridiculous in my mind that they expected Xbox gamers to say, hey, nah, you're good. Just play 3. It's a conclusion of a story that's lasted for 20 years.
Yeah.
I mean, it's it's a little dumbfounded to me that they expected that. But again, I think it is kind of a nice little, well, here you go thing because it is on Game Pass.
Yeah, I agree.
It's not something that you necessarily have to buy because you already have it with that service.
Yep. Agree completely.
Yakuza I've never really gotten into.
Yeah, I've never either.
They're quirky GTA clones even before GTA.
Yep.
It's just... they're weird games.
They're Japanese games.
I played Kiwami actually because it was a PS Plus game, and I've actually played the original original Yakuza 2, and I just couldn't get into them.
Yeah, for sure. So the last piece of news we're going to talk about for X019 is Halo: The Master Chief Collection finally launches on December 3rd on PC. So the interesting thing with this is Master Chief Collection on PC is actually starting with Halo Reach. So when you buy Master Chief Collection on day one, you will only have access to Halo Reach. They've talked about that. They are starting with Halo Reach, then subsequently they're going in chronological order in releases. So then they'll release Halo CE, Halo 2, Halo 3, Halo 3 ODST, and Halo 4. Actually, Halo 3 ODST might be before Halo 3 because that takes place
what I thought,
before Halo 3 technically. But and Halo 4. So
I can't believe we got something wrong on Halo.
Yeah, whatever. So they're going to release those over time chronologically. People are very excited for this on PC. There is a little bit of hesitation in the community just because of how poorly Master Chief Collection launched on Xbox One back in 2014.
Get over it at this point, in my opinion.
Halo fans are very... very unforgiving people.
Gamers in general are
Yes.
unforgiving people. My only thing would be like, guys, I get it. It does suck, but in today's day, we understand that day one launches are never smooth.
Yep.
It is a rarity when you find out that a day one launch is like gone amazing.
I agree.
Besides, honestly, Nintendo games, because Nintendo games for the most part don't need patches.
Yep.
But I think a beloved franchise, you're getting it on a platform that you wanted.
Yes, I agree.
Expect some hiccups, but prepare for best, I think.
I do agree. However, I do also... I see what people are saying because this game came out in 2014 on Xbox One, and it took them 3.5 years to get it to a point where it was really good. And that, in my opinion,
played like
that's
2 years ago, though, and it was fine to me.
There's certain aspects to it that were fine, but the game overall was very much broken in many regards. So the patch that they put in early 2018 is what really fixed Master Chief Collection and got it back to what it should have been from the beginning. But you have to give them credit as well because they went back and added Halo Reach. Now they've added so much content to the Master Chief Collection that you have to give them some
the only
credit.
ones they're missing are really the Spartan Assaults, like the top-down guys.
Yes.
That's really all they're missing, am I
Every
right?
Halo game is
or I
playable.
guess Halo Wars, but still, that's already in Game Pass.
Well, Halo Wars is on Xbox One backwards compatible, and it was re-released.
But I mean, as far as on the MCC.
Oh, yeah. As
that's
far
all,
as MCC.
that's all they're missing at this point.
That's all. They have everything. So you can play every Halo game on Xbox One right now, except for... No, everyone. You can play every one.
Yeah, you can play all those Spartan Assaults.
Except
I like
for
the first one.
Not Spartan Strike. That was exclusive to iOS. That never came to console. Only
I never
Spartan
played
Assault.
that.
Yeah, that was the sequel. It was not any better.
Okay.
So,
I didn't mind Spartan Assault. I didn't think it was that bad.
yeah, it was all right
For a top
mobile
down.
game.
For a top down.
Yeah. Also, Halo Reach is also launching on December 3rd as well on Xbox One. So finally, we'll have Halo Reach on.
I've never
Xbox
played
One.
Halo Reach before.
What?
I've played obviously the first 4. I didn't really like, and I know I give you shit for this. I wasn't a fan of 3, but I also played that 15
Halo
years.
3 is the GOAT.
I played that 15 years after it came out for the first time.
Reach.
I never played Reach. I didn't have an Xbox 360. I only played at with friends' Xbox 360s in my frat house. And it wasn't like at that point Call of Duty took over the conversation, so no one had Halo. Everyone had Call of Duty. But I would actually look forward to just seeing what it is. I've heard complaints about the story at times.
I really like the story,
but I've heard the gameplay is still like bar none up there.
Yeah.
So I'd really be interested in seeing, especially it's the first game, like actual game, where you didn't play as Master Chief.
I really like the story of Reach personally, and I feel like Bungie was tasked with an impossible task. They were in contract with Microsoft to make one more Halo game before they were able to go independent, and I feel like they were tasked with this impossible task of making something interesting with Halo Reach when you already knew the ending. If you're a Halo fan, you know what happens to Reach. It gets glassed. But I really liked the characters in Halo Reach. I can't stress that enough. All of the characters in Halo Reach I very much loved, except for maybe Kat.
Nathan Fillion's in?
Yes.
Okay. I thought he was a voice actor.
No. ODST. Sorry.
Oh, he was an ODST.
I just said automatically yes. And it's not. No. He's Buck in ODST and also in Halo 5.
Okay.
But, yeah, Reach, I absolutely love the characters, except for Kat maybe, because she's a little bland. But anyways, yes, I would definitely recommend playing it.
I need to give it a try just to see what it was like.
And it was interesting, Bungie kind of tested some things with Destiny with Halo Reach, like with Forge World. It was this huge open world thing that they used their new engine for. They were using that to test Destiny tech, which I found very interesting. And they also did a space flight sequence in Halo Reach that was supposed to be a test for Destiny as well, but that didn't end up coming to fruition because Destiny.
So overall, what are your general impressions of X019?
I thought it was really good. I thought it was solid.
Because you came in with tempered expectations.
Yes,
yeah.
I thought it was better than what my expectations were personally. I didn't think that it was going to be that big personally, but it didn't have the surprises that, say, last year's did with the Obsidian announcement and Exile announcement.
But I don't think you need to the year before your console launch.
I don't think so either. And they had 2 brand new IPs announced, which, I mean, that's great in and of itself.
Because this year is going to be 2020 is going to be an awful year with all the election stuff. But I think really, as gamers, we're going to have a lot of good news when it comes to hearing about both these systems and how this war intensifies. And I guess maybe war is the wrong word, but I love the healthy competition that they both provide each other because they make both systems be better.
Absolutely.
In my opinion,
I agree. So we'll move on to our top 5. This week we're doing top 5 most anticipated. That's not what we're doing. I forgot to.
I had not mentioned a single thing this whole time.
I forgot to change that title. So yeah, we're not doing that.
Top 10 most anticipated games for 2021.
Exactly. Yeah. Yep. All right. Well, we're doing our top 5 best open worlds. Yeah, I don't know why I said that. Yeah, I probably should have changed that. But anyways,
that was awesome.
So my first one is GTA 5 and also Vice City, which we kind of share one on this. And we cheated a little bit here a couple times. I did. But GTA Vice City and GTA 5. Vice City had such a cool 80s atmosphere.
God, that was amazing.
Vibrant lights and colors. The color palette was amazing. GTA 5 has such a vibrant and living open world that I absolutely love, and even the online stuff they added was really cool as well. It made the world feel alive.
So I want to screw myself over by saying this, but I want to do eventually a top 5 list of games that we wish we could experience for the first time. Vice City feels like one of those contenders for me because I remember actually as a kid getting pissed off about the sun being in my eyes, but like as an adult I realized like that added to like the realism of the 80s Miami vibe. And just like the sports cars, the atmosphere, everything with that world was amazing. Like I loved when they introduced buying properties. And you felt like Scarface when you bought that mansion finally.
Yep.
I mean, it's just a great game all around.
I agree completely.
Then you had another actual GTA on there too.
Yeah, GTA 5.
Yeah,
I talked about that.
Oh, you did? Okay,
yeah.
I didn't hear that.
Yeah.
Well, I'm actually going to go back to a little bit older, and that's GTA 3.
Yeah.
Meaning because I actually remember taking off school for the launch of this game.
Yeah.
Because all my friends group, we were so hyped for this game, which good reason because in my opinion, it spawned this whole new open world genre. With just everything you could do. There was obviously a lot of controversy surrounding it, specifically like the things that you could do in the game. But Liberty City, it feels so small now. Have you ever gone back? My brother-in-law actually bought the collection of those games on PS4. And so we played GTA 3, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is so small, but like we're going from now open worlds. But that was such an amazing experience when that happened, and all the cheat codes that you could do.
And you did go back to Liberty City in GTA 4, which is that's still bizarre to me why they went so quickly back to GTA 4. To Liberty City.
Well, they cycle in those cities.
Yeah.
Like San Andreas was in.
That's true.
Yeah.
But it was like a small. I guess it wasn't.
I am not as high up on GTA 4 as I know a lot of outlets.
I hated GTA 4.
I thought the controls were extremely sluggish.
Yes.
I did not like the gray open world.
Yep.
I get it was supposed to live like a city.
I didn't like Nico.
Yeah, I would agree. The main character, and actually, Vice City is a perfect thing to say. That's the first time we got a personality in GTA where we were Ray Liotta.
Yep.
And he did amazing with that.
Yep. Agreed completely. My next one is Assassin's Creed Odyssey. So obviously a newer Assassin's Creed game. I was going to choose another one, but you chose it, so I went with Odyssey. Odyssey is fantastic open world. Like, if I had just like endless time, I would spend it in Assassin's Creed Odyssey. Like, there's so much that I haven't explored in Assassin's Creed Odyssey, even though I beat the game.
That's what screwed me, man.
And it's just insane. Yeah, there's so many islands like everywhere, and like every island you go to is something different and unique. And like that's what's so great about that game.
Did you ever get the Minotaur?
No.
So I got a lot of things for it, but I never opened it.
Yeah.
Because it's one of the first islands you visit. When you go down into a pit, you realize, oh god, there's something in here.
Right.
But yeah, that was a good. My actual one is Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag. You know, the last one that they started numbering.
Great game.
An amazing launch game for these new systems. But Black Flag, it took me maybe a little over a year to finally beat. But I actually explored every single inch of that map. I went to every single island. I fought all 4 of those massive British ships. First off, it was so pretty to look at comparison to Assassin's Creed 3. With that open world, the oceans, how you could dive, how you could hunt. The naval combat itself is really honestly what sold me on the game, because it was so much fun to get into a ship fight with another person or something like that. Like, you felt like you were actually a pirate at that point.
And it's the reason that Skull and Bones exists
Exactly,
now.
Yeah, because it was so popular with that. And they have those mechanics in Odyssey and Origins for it. So it's obviously a mechanic that they want to keep in that franchise. I think if Vikings is true, that's going to be heavily in there.
That'll be awesome.
But it was just such an amazing experience when you got your new console and it was the winter time and you saw all this like beach and sun and all this stuff. Don't get me wrong, it was still based off of old Assassin's Creed, so you still had like 20 missions where you had to follow somebody on a rooftop, but the world itself was just amazing.
Yes. And also it's funny their terrible numbering scheme, because that's technically the 7th Assassin's Creed game, but it's Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag.
Is it the 7th? I thought it was the 8th.
Is it the 8th?
Because there was another Altair one on mobile.
Oh, was there?
Yeah.
Oh,
because I played it and it was awful.
Even worse, number 8. Assassin's Creed 4, 8. No. Anyways, my next one is a game I've talked about a ton on this show, Spider-Man PS4. Absolutely. I feel like I repeat myself every time I say these games, but
Daniel's only played 5 games this
life. Apparently, yeah. Spider-Man PS4, I absolutely love that world. I loved all the missions that you got to do, and so obviously, as I've talked about, swinging throughout New York City is just absolutely incredible on there. Insomniac did a great job with the animations and just making it feel vibrant in that world.
Just because you said that, by the way, I have to change one of mine.
Uh-oh.
But the next one I'm going to go with is Mad Max from 2015.
I know what you're going to do.
Yeah. So I actually already talked about this developer and this game briefly when I was talking about Rage 2. I love this open world so much. I played and beat this game twice.
Oh, wow.
And I just love how that world is so sparse and just so empty, while also having so many things for you to do, which is a weird thing to say in an open world game. But I love the Mad Max franchise. I mean, if you have never seen Fury Road, it is probably the best movie, in my opinion, that's come out in the last decade. But it is so amazing, like how not only do you always feel like you're constantly surviving because of gas, but you're also you're barely surviving because of there's dust storms, or you have a convoy, or like you see riders out in the middle of nowhere and you're like, oh my god, I don't have the weaponry to defend this. The car combat was amazing. God, I wish there was some sort of sequel. I love how they kind of tied it in with the movie at that time too.
Yeah.
But it's such a fun game.
Agreed. If you're in the live chat, I want you to put what one of your favorite open world games is in the chat right now. I know there's 2 of you watching right now. Put it in the live chat.
2,000 of you.
2,000. Yeah,
2,000
I
of you
misspoke.
watching.
Sorry, podcast listeners. I misspoke. We have 2,000 people watching right now. But drop your favorite open world game in the chat and we'll read it out. So my next one is, again, another cheating one because I love to cheat on these lists.
That is your thing now. He went from hating on people to cheating.
Yeah, pretty much. So my next one's Fallout 3 / New Vegas. Man, Fallout 3, there's so many great things to talk about with that open world, but to me, like, you just learn that from the get-go in that game when you go to the city right in the beginning of the game, and you can choose to detonate this bomb in the middle of the city, Megaton, and if you detonate the bomb, it blows up the whole city, and that's it. That's the end of that storyline. You don't deal with those people anymore, which is hilarious to me. That, like, just that's one
That you
piece.
can cut out 50% of the game, basically.
Well, not 50%,
25
but
or something like that, yeah.
a whole section of the community. But that was, to me, that was the most exciting part. Was just the world was so well built, and you could literally do whatever you wanted in that world. And New Vegas basically took that and turned it into like a Sin City type of experience, which I absolutely loved as well. Developed by Obsidian, I love them. So everything they did, it just Fallout related was amazing until Fallout 4, and that was kind of it was average, but yeah.
So what's number 4 for me?
Is it the one that you were talking about?
It's the one I told you I was going to change. What am I changing it to?
Sunset Overdrive.
He's 100% correct, ladies and gentlemen. He said Insomniac Games. I didn't even think of that.
Yeah.
So I initially had Crackdown, but after hearing Insomniac and just thinking of all my memories of Sunset Overdrive, how could I not choose that world? It is the basis for which Spider-Man was built on, in my opinion.
Yeah.
As far as how you traverse through an open world. From the get-go, you're kind of dropped into this weird little town, suburbia city, and you just keep grinding on things, exploring. I mean, I remember the one boss where you're basically riding the rails as a roller coaster, but like you're not a roller coaster, you're a person, but it just like you looked down and you felt the city below you, and it was just so open.
Agreed.
Even bland areas like the railroad tracks, like they felt like death sentences because of how easily you could have been surrounded. But because of your mobility, you were able to kind of escape that. And just the cartoony aspect of that entire world, the narrator that was talking to you, just everything about that the verticality of that world will never get old.
So quirky and Insomniac.
It is, yeah. And I will say this a billion times. Give me a sequel, man. Give me a sequel.
Might be a PlayStation 4 exclusive, possibly.
If you know what, just like how Microsoft helped out with Tomb Raider 2, the reboot initially, I would be totally on board with whatever exclusive stuff comes for certain franchises as long as they come back.
Yeah.
Like Bayonetta 3 on the Switch, obviously exclusive.
Agreed. So
eventually,
like Banjo-Kazooie exclusive Xbox. Bring us a freaking Banjo. We want
Banjo 3 is dead.
Banjo 3, please. My last game is maybe a surprising one, but Forza Horizon 3. Absolutely adored that game. So Australian Outback, like there were so many paths that you could take in that open world. It was absolutely amazing. Just driving in that open world and seeing like crocodiles and stuff like that was super cool. Something that Forza game and Horizon in particular, since it was that subgenre, hasn't done before, was like wildlife and stuff like that, kangaroos and all that. That was super cool to see. The photo mode was absolutely stunning in that game. It was very lifelike with how good Forza Horizon 3 looked. Forza Horizon 4 obviously was really good as well, but I didn't enjoy the Britain setting as much as I did the Australian Outback. So absolutely just, the whole world was amazing in Horizon 3.
My last one is another cheat, since Daniel's allowed to, I get to, is the Middle-earth Shadow of series. So both Mordor and War. I know these maps can be kind of viewed as a little bland as far as like dark and gray or a little bit of greenery. But I really loved the attention to detail they had as far as in relation to the Lord of the Rings series itself. Specifically Shadow of War, you had 5 different areas. While similar as far as their setup, a lot of them were either vertical or spread out. You always felt stressed. I remember the one that specifically has like the mines in it and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's where I got screwed over the most, because that's where I ran into the never-ending cycle of my nemesis always being somebody that was a dark wraith that basically respawned. I was like 12 levels ahead of I was every single time.
Jeez.
And had to die like 2 or 3 times before he would actually die. And like I would get screwed by hunting other captains during that. But the map made it so like I could escape for the most part every time. And I just remember the first time playing Shadow of Mordor and like really seeing how big those maps were with what you could do. And just, I don't know. It was the first time since Two Towers came out on the PS2 that I felt like back in like that Lord of the Rings atmosphere. And now obviously that was an original story too, and I thought that was very well done.
And it had been a long time since we got a good Lord of the Rings game. Like, I mean, that was...
I know a lot of people love the card game on PC, but I'm not into card games, so...
Also, shout out to Lord of the Rings Battle for Middle-earth 2, which was an RTS on Xbox 360. That thing was awesome.
I don't remember if I played that or not. I feel like I had, though.
It was a really good RTS, and it came out early in the 360 generation, so...
I might have. It sounds familiar.
Yeah. So that's the end of our show, guys. Thank you guys for sticking around. I know it was a long show this week. We had a lot of news to cover. So next week we will be foregoing an episode because of the holidays. So don't look out for an episode next week, but we will be back the following week for more fun there. So remember, 8 p.m. Wednesdays, except for next week. We won't be back next week. So appreciate you guys sticking around, and we will see you guys in 2 weeks.
Deuces.
See ya.